Hello, everyone. For some reason, my connection was not. It said poor connection or something. But I think that was just through Instagram. It was kind of being weird. But yeah, it's nice to see all of you. I'm going to invite Althea on real quick. Let's see if I can do this. Here we go. I accepted.
Hi,
Hello.
how are you?
I'm doing pretty good. I am just excited to do this live today. I know it's later for you over in South Africa.
Yeah, it's
It's
not too late. It's 7:30.
actually, yeah, that's not too bad. Yeah, some people, and I notice when I do like readings for people in Europe, it's like a lot later, but it's weirder for me to do stuff with people like in Australia because then it's like a whole day before, or it's all like different day and stuff, but it's pretty crazy. But yeah, I've been feeling good. I like I've been feeling like kind of like uptick in the energy, of course, but also it's felt like recently, I don't know if you felt this, like it's almost just kind of like an edgy feeling. Like people are kind of edgy, people are more angry, people like when I go outside, like on the roads and stuff, it's just like people are more angry. And I know you had that incident, that pretty traumatic incident that you went through too, but yeah, it feels like definitely there's been an uptick in energy, but it feels weird. It definitely feels like I feel really like kind of strange a lot of the time. Maybe because it's a lot of the Ascension frequency is coming in or something. But yeah, I definitely feel weird. Maybe I think part of it was a lot of clearing and stuff and a lot of purging energy.
Yeah, there's a very big anger template that was cleared in the past. So a lot of like getting triggered, a lot of very explosive emotional responses. And what came through as a very strong message to the collective is that it's okay to have these extreme emotions, as long as we learn to move through them in a healthy way. We don't really, it's not all love and light. Like the spiritual bypassing, it's really, really big, so it's important that people know, like, it's okay to have the emotions. It's okay to get angry. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to rage. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, there's people who do whole sacred rage workshops. You know what I mean? So, what came through to me was, yeah, clearing this anger template. Sometimes it needs to come out in that specific frequency and energetic way for it to clear in the best possible and then anchor in the best possible timeline.
For sure. I think that a lot of people do uh, spiritually bypass. I didn't even know what that word meant until like last year, I think. I think it's a lot of people don't want to feel fear or they don't want to feel anxiety or stuff like that. And sometimes these things are important for us to move past, and there's a reason that the fear is there, or there's a reason that, oh, okay, you may feel I might feel fearful to come on live with you or upload a video or something, or nervous or something. But that's the whole point of it, that fear being there, because it probably means something to me, doing things like this, or just, you know, in the face of fear, just doing it anyways, and feeling the fear and doing it anyways, and overcoming that fear is also something that's been super huge for me in my life. Is that something that you've experienced too, with certain things?
I think that anything that makes you step outside of your comfort zone is a space of growth. So, I mean, if you are scared of something, like within reason, my advice would be to do it. And that's an even more, reason to do it. Generally, yeah, I mean, with me, like, it's very interesting. I don't really feel fear per se. So maybe
Yeah.
like my
Yeah, I was
my
gonna
two
say like you go traveling everywhere, you just kind of do what you want
yeah,
all the time. Yeah.
and I mean, yeah, I mean, it's quite funny because I'll feel like excitement, I'll feel like nerves here and there, like when I spoke at the Conscious Life Expo, I was a little bit nervous before I stepped on stage. I think is healthy and normal, but per se, I think when you come into a space of when you in union with source consciousness and you're in a space of divine trust and surrender, then you know you are divinely guided. So you
Mhm.
don't need to be scared because you know that whatever happens, you are held, supported, and protected, if it makes sense.
For sure. I remember like one time I was gonna do this like yoga teacher training and I was like kind of nervous about it because like they gave you this huge packet of like all this stuff to learn. I was like, I don't know, I don't know if I can learn all this stuff in time. And then I would talk to my team and like they were just completely relaxed about it, like chill, like and they didn't really care if I studied it or anything. But once I got there, there was so much energy there, like the goddess Lakshmi, Krishna, all these energies were there and it was just very peaceful and it was so easy for me to be able to pick up on it and just download the information. Like I picked up on it super fast, like on the fly, but everyone else in the class was like kind of struggling or in the training, but they had all been studying for weeks. I was like, oh, that's why they didn't want me to study this. Sometimes, it's not we get all wound up for like no reason for certain
Yeah.
things and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That was
And it
interesting.
was quite interesting because I had an interview yesterday. I was speaking to this friend of mine who was interviewing me, and we were just saying how sometimes it can be difficult to explain because people like me and you and my friend who I was speaking with yesterday, we have that connection with our higher versions of self, our guides, our team, whatever it is. So it's almost easier for us to be in a space of trust, and be like, okay, well, I don't have to study this. I'm going to a conference. I don't know what I'm going to speak about until, or they're just going to tell me. I'm going to hop onto a live and see what comes through. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
a lot of people, it can be a bit more complex to conceptualize because they don't necessarily have that. I mean, we all have that, but they're not necessarily within that frequency or tuned in that specific way. So it's interesting. Yeah. And like really just being in a space of trust and surrender, I find. And once you find that balance within, navigating a 3D realm in your day to day life with a bit of structure, but also being in a space of surrender, then it's a very beautiful alignment that you have.
For sure. I think it's really interesting. I was gonna ask you about speaking of the 3D, I was gonna ask you about a lot of people have said that, our 3D reality has been tampered with or been messed with over time, and that the normal divine blueprint of like a normal 3D reality or like a 3D planet is very different than the one that we are living here on Earth. Like some people say it's more dense. Is this something that you've sensed in the past
So
or present day?
so for me, okay, so I mean, I'm familiar with the reverse matrix structure that was channeled like maybe 20 or 25 years ago when they were saying that the souls were getting reincarnated and there were like blockages and things like that. I don't think we're on that timeline anymore. I think that we all create our own individual reality. So if someone's navigating density, that's probably their own experience or their contracts or where they need to be at that moment in time. Um, as for, as it being tampered with, I'm sure it has to some extent, but then again, what is the normal blueprint? Like,
Yeah.
do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
is there
Yeah.
that says the real blueprint and this is a tampered one? Like, I think like everything in the quantum realm, because, the 3D, the 4D, they all overlapped. It's fluid. There is fluidity within it as well. So, yeah, it's not something that I've ever asked myself. So thank you for asking that. I don't think it's something that would affect people on a day-to-day basis per se, because in the end, all you can do is you really, be present in your reality and make the best of that.
Mhm.
But definitely, like, yeah, something interesting to consider.
Yeah, I think one person can be for a session and everything, and they kept thinking that they were in the Phantom Earth. I think I'm in the Phantom Earth. I swear, you need to help me here. And I was like, you're not in the Phantom Earth. I think it's just like you're kind of tripping yourself out. But I mean, if you keep believing you're in the Phantom Earth or whatever that is, you're gonna kind of manifest that kind of reality for yourself. And I see a lot of people talking about, oh, you know, oh, wow, you don't know who you're talking to, or like you're always talking to a false light. I was like, I guess if you want to like manifest that reality for yourself, it doesn't really seem very high vibrational, but that's not a reality I really choose to live in. But yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
I mean, yeah, I've also encountered clients that have come to me and they're like, no, this reality isn't real, and this, and I'm like, well, your reality is a manifestation of what's going on within you. So all the answers are within you. And I had a live, I think it was Monday. I don't know if you're familiar with Vivienne Chauvet, and she's a Victorian hybrid being. So she's being, physically engineered for that. And she was explaining how even their high level of tech, not in a way that we would understand tech, they even are like, guys, like, it's all within you, it's all to the heart, it's all going back to the understanding of the self, and then everything else around will align.
Hmm. For sure. And speaking about the heart, uh, a lot of times I'll receive guidance for some of my clients, and they're like, self-love is something that I think that you need to work on, or that you need to learn more of, or opening the heart chakra. And a lot of times when I tell them that, they're like, "Well, I already do love myself. I already do." Like, and they're like, I don't know if it's because of my age or something, but when I'm like talking to certain people, but have you encountered that with some people? They just kind of like they already think that they're already like they already love themselves
Yeah.
completely. I feel like it's something that we all kind of need to work on, you know?
And you ask them, how are their boundaries? And then they don't have any.
Yeah.
And then you say to them, boundaries are the highest form of self-love. So if you're not properly working on your boundaries, then you're not really working on the self-love. I find that that's the biggest lack, and the biggest, like, that anchored with the scarcity template is like the biggest one, the boundaries. Because we get brought up, especially the woman, but a lot of people, we get brought up in people pleasing society, and also consumerism, that we need external things to be happy. So we feel like we need materialistic things and things outside ourselves. And again, it's all coming back to the self and to the heart. A lot of people think that self-love is, getting your nails done and having a bath. Yes, it's that, but it's also, saying no and having boundaries, and not allowing people in your field that aren't for your highest alignment, and being strict with yourself, having some structure, being focused, keeping family members at a distance if they're not serving you and assisting you, having friendships that you are both growing from each other, that aren't like draining you. So there's a lot of people are in very open spaces of empathy, but they don't understand that empathy without boundaries is self-destruction. So they're like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm in compassion, I'm in empathy,
Yeah.
I'm helping people.
Yeah.
Yes, but are you helping yourself first? You cannot pour from an empty cup.
For sure. I love that. And a lot of these women, they just have so much love to give. I was like, if you just give 1% of this love to yourself, like you're gonna be doing so much better. And I know a lot of these, I know that you have a kid, and a lot of these women with kids, is there any way that any advice that you have for people, women that say, I'll say like, okay, maybe it's time to be a little bit tougher on your kid and stop enabling them too much. And they'd be like, no, that goes against my entire being. I'm just a very loving person and stuff like that. I was like, do you want your kid to grow up as like a wussy basically and just not be able to handle the world at all? Is that something that you've encountered, with some people and stuff? Like, is there any advice you have about that?
Yeah, I don't think I can really give advice on parenting, because every child is different and every parent is different. So I firmly believe that, as being a mother myself, like, what's best for your child. So, like, every individual is different, and every soul has a different journey, and there's a contract between the parents and the child. So in whatever way that expands and that unfolds, it's a contract and karmic cycle between all of them. So I wish there was a magic formula, but
Yeah,
there isn't.
me too. Yeah, that's so true though. Like some people are just like really sensitive and they need that extra like uh, attention and things like that. So it's not always, black and white. But yeah. So this is one question I have from someone, and they say, is a plant-based diet, is it something that uh, is high vibrational?
So I mean, first of all, I really refrain myself from using concept as like words as high vibration and low vibration, because again, we are creating division. We are separating things. We want to move into union. So I just speak about
Mhm.
frequency. And I just find that that's a little bit easier. Again, it's subjective, it's individual. I personally don't eat meat, I don't eat fish, I don't drink coffee. I try to release all and any attachments to anything, even like sugars. I limit my sugar intake. But then again, I mean, like I'll eat eggs, I don't eat dairy, but if I'm like at a dinner and there's biscuits and they're made with butter and milk, like I'll eat them. Do you
Mhm.
know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
Yeah.
I kind of follow a plant-based intuitive diet, because my blood type, which is blood type A, actually struggles with the enzymes in the stomach to digest the meat. I started vomiting every time I ate red meat like about 12, 13 years ago. That's why I don't eat it. I do think if I would force myself to eat it, then probably I would adapt to it and still be able to eat it. But I don't
Mhm.
actually like it. I don't like the taste of meat. The smell makes me gag. Even if it's organic and whatnot, I don't like it. However, I have friends, colleagues, amazing channelers and energy workers who eat meat. They obviously make sure that it's
Mhm.
organic, grass fed. It was like a happy, cow, chicken, or whatever it is. So again, it goes down to the individual. However, from my personal understanding, and from my personal knowledge, and from what I've seen from an energetic perspective, the meat is denser because you are eating something that had a soul density level that is higher than a plant. So if you imagine soul densities, you'll have your first soul density, which will be like your elementals, your rocks, and things like that. Then you have your lower tiers of second soul density, which would be your plants, your leaves, and things like that. And then your higher tiers of second soul density, which will be your animals. So that soul has gone through more experience than a plant because it's chose to incarnate in animals. So now you taking on the karma, the pain, the energetics, everything that the animal went through. So my advice is, if you do want to eat meat, make sure it's cleansed. Make sure you do, energy work, or clear it, or do some Reiki, organic. Like I eat eggs, but like the eggs that I buy need to be pasture raised. I don't even do like just organic. It needs to be pasture raised, because that's the only one that means, at least in this country, that the chickens are actually running free.
Mhm.
But then, like, everyone's experience is different. So for me
Mhm.
personally, I don't eat meat, but I would never tell anyone not to if they're happy eating it.
Mhm. For sure. I think it's all a journey. I think a lot of people, it's really good that people are kind of awakening to what's in their food or what they're eating. Personally, I think I might be type or something like that, because I know some O positive or O negative. I don't know, understand them, but some of them, are kind of like they don't, they do better with meat or something like that.
Yeah,
But
so the black diet comes from when we were like Neanderthals or something like that. I read up on it a few years ago. So O type were the people in the caves, like hunting and fishing and all of that. So they got used to that diet. While A and like B were more living in the forest, eating like the plants and the berries and the fruits and things like that. And then the men evolved and became to where we are now. But again, like, I don't know, I mean, there's so many new findings that come up with the science, so it's very difficult to keep up.
yeah, it was cool. I was watching some program, history program, where they're saying I think 2% of Europe, or like Northern Europe or Europe in general, has like 2%, or some part of Europe has like 2% Neanderthal genes in them, and then the rest of it's the other type or something. It's really interesting to think about that kind of stuff. But yeah, I've done really well on a vegan diet ever since I was like 17, 18. It just kind of, awakened a lot of new foods for me. I was like, oh, all these new foods, and I can use all these new foods, and they all feel really good, and I just flourished really well on it. Okay, so
Yeah, I
oh
think
yeah,
food,
so yeah.
sorry, I just said food is quite a big topic. I just think, yeah, we must leave space for everyone to, to do their own and stay out of judgment, and then do what works best for us.
For sure. Yeah, that's the most important one, especially that I needed to learn, especially when I first went vegan too. I was like, being an indigo, and so I was like, you gotta do everything the way my way is the best. Always, Now, I used to always be like that, but very opinionative, you know. But I think it's good to have opinions, you know, it's good to have, you know, be comfortable with like your ego and things like that because we're here in this 3D experience in the physical and we all have separate bodies and things like that. So it's interesting to you know, navigate this reality. So this person or no, this is the question I have for you, I think. It's about, you know, a lot of people say, you know, we're all gonna ascend and there's gonna be a solar flash and uh, so are you going to be doing your light language? You're going to send to the 5D and then we're all going to be left behind? Or like, what's going to happen?
So funny asking me about the solar flash. Everyone's, yeah. So, what do you want? What must I say first? Is everyone going to the 5D or is the solar flash coming?
Well, I think is everyone going to the 5D will be a good one, a good place to start.
I mean, I mean, a lot of us are already operating from a 5D density. Like, you know, we co-creating our reality, we manifesting, we abundant, we anchored in the present moment. So it's not a place where anyone's going. It's a state of being and of consciousness that resides within your soul. So we still have to be anchored in the 3D reality, this solid reality. We here, you know, we present, we chose to be here, but because they are all overlapping, like the 4D will, you know, lack your limitation of time, just limitation of space. When you're quantum realm and you're 5D, there's no limitation of time and space. So when you start operating from that space, you really start co-creating your reality. So someone can be operating in that space, but not necessarily be spiritual. They don't necessarily have to be meditating or, you know, be like the sadhus in India or the Tibetan monks that meditate 12 hours a day. Like, you can do that. You don't need to do that.
Yeah.
You remember, you came here to live a human experience. So be human,
Hmm.
do the human, you know what I mean? But do them consciously, do them with awareness, do them with love, stay in compassion, stay in kindness, stay out of judgment. This is living within the 5D reality, not going in some magical place with, you know, unicorns and fairies. Yes, they all exist and you can connect to all of them if you want to, but it's very important to be present here in the now. It's not about going anywhere, it's more a state of being, I would say.
Hmm. For sure. And I think that, you know, a lot of people are talking about this solar flash thing. And part of the bigger picture that I see with that is the, you know, the solar flares that we've been having. I feel like that's all a part of it, you know. And you know, but the thing with like the solar flash, I don't know if there's gonna be like one single event, but that's just not really what I see. But you know, it may happen in some people's timelines or some people's
Yeah.
realities.
So from what I've channeled, I'm also not seeing it at this moment in time, but it is, I think, a possibility. So what I think is going to happen is, if we haven't reached a certain number or a certain frequency by a certain time, then that might be necessary for people to wake up. But I don't think we're on that trajectory. Yeah, so this is what they're sending me now. It's like a 25% chance that it's going to happen, and 75 not, from the timeline that we're on now. But timelines are always changing. But again, like, it hasn't been something in my reality. Like, I don't really follow the solar flare stuff. I'll feel it and then I'll go check and be like, oh, okay. Or I'll get sent like a post by someone that, and I'm like, okay, so that's what's going on. So that's kind of like how I navigate it. But it's not really within my direct awareness. It's not something that I really like spend time on, if it makes sense. But I know that it's a big topic, so I'm happy to talk about it. But this is from my understanding.
Mhm. So just a few more questions, and then we can get into a little bit of light language or channeling or whatever. But I was gonna ask about I think, oh yeah, yeah, Palladians. I've noticed they're just they're just really open in the heart chakra, and they have a lot of energy in the heart, and that's just something that I really learned from them. I've always been very connected to my emotions, been very in the heart chakra, and been very connected to my divine feminine and things like that. Really, I've had to learn a lot of my, you know, masculine energy here on Earth. But being grounded in the heart chakra is something that I really had to learn. You know, always being outside my body, but this is something that I've noticed about Palladians, and you can see that through the expression of their being. Like with you, you know, you're expressing it maybe. Uh, Kirsty, she dyes her hair like pink, and I noticed that a lot of Pleiadians they'll dye their hair blonde or just dye their hair different colors, and they're just like more vibrant. Is this something that you've seen with a lot of Pleiadian starseeds?
I just dye my hair red because it helps me stay grounded, and it's been like this in many lifetimes. I literally need to ground as much as I can because, as you said, like I operate so much in the higher chakras, and I'm in this constant space throughout my day that my hair has been like this in many lifetimes to help me stay more grounded.
Mhm.
But yeah, I don't really know. Like that's a good question. I haven't
Yeah.
people. I have noticed a lot of starseeds dye their hair. Think it's because it's probably been like that in different lifetimes, I would presume. But yeah, I wouldn't know if it's Pleiadian specifically, but it's a possibility.
For sure. And so I think okay, so someone's saying about numerology, and is that impactful?
Yes,
Uh,
of course, it's numbers. Like about your intention. It's not about the number itself. So I'll give you an example. I work with the numbers 3, 6, and 9. So like if I need to buy something and I need more than one, I'll buy 3. And it's quite funny because then it always comes down like if I need to put an alarm on, I'll put it so that the numbers add to 3, 6, and 9 sort of thing.
Mhm.
And then you just work with the intention, the frequency of the numbers. It's like, when you see the 111, the 222, the 333, unless you specifically assign a significance to it. So like for me, number 4 would be the balancing of the 4 elements, the 4 archangelics.
Mhm.
Number 2 would be more like a divine union. A 3 would be a balance between mind, body, and spirit. So that would be for me, but it
Mhm.
doesn't necessarily mean that it's the same for you. A synchronicity within the numbers means just that you are operating in a good alignment. It's kind of
Mhm.
like your guides being like, okay, you're on the right track. Okay, go in this direction. Okay, you're
Mhm.
doing well. You know what I mean? So you can choose to assign a specific significance to it. And what I've also noticed, yeah, this is something else they're sending me. When you get the synchronicities with the numbers or the songs or whatever, for me, it's then I will go back to the thought. What was I thinking? Like maybe I was thinking about a new project that I want to do. I see a synchronicity, and I'm like, yes, that's an alignment because then the frequency is deciding. Does it make sense?
Mhm.
So I mean, it's a bit of a like we can go down deeper and deeper and
Yeah.
deeper quite a lot. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, but I would say that definitely numbers are important, but working with them intuitively.
So when you're going shopping and you see 369, that means to buy it, right? No, just kidding.
If I choose between two things and the one adds up to 5 and the other adds up to 6, then I'll buy the one that adds up to 6.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So long story short, it's not impactful at all. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I definitely see that as well with like 1111 and like different numbers like that and like 333. Yeah, I was born on 3-3, so when I see 333 or something like that, I always think of like Christ consciousness or things like that, different things like that. It's kind of interesting.
I was born on 11, so
11?
yeah,
Cool. Yeah, my mother was born on 11/11, and I was like, whoa, that's kind of weird.
no, I was born on the 11th of the month,
Oh,
but
oh, cool. That's cool too. Okay, so I think this would be.
yeah, I don't know if the people alive have any
Mhm.
questions. Maybe we can take like,
Yeah, if you have any questions, that'd be really cool. I definitely feel a lot of energy in the heart
mm,
chakra,
yeah, I'm also
especially.
in the heart. Someone asked if I do readings. I do. You can check them out on my website.
You
So
have a lot of services on there, I
yeah,
saw.
I've got a 6-week program, 6-month program. I will be in the States. I'm actually flying out in 2 weeks. I'm going to be at Disclosure Fest holding a workshop just outside of LA. And then I'm going to be holding a workshop in LA on the 28th, just after solstice. And then on the 7th July, I'll be in San Diego for the Starseed conference. So I'm taking in person when I'm in LA as well. So you can just send me a DM or connect through my website. And then I've got a Costa Rica retreat coming up in November where I've got a few spaces left. So that's going to be like a very, very exciting one. We're working with the 4 elements, and we're going to also be working with the dragon. We're going to be working with sun plant medicine. So yeah, it'll be really, really beautiful. And yeah, I mean, all my services are up on my website.
Hmm.
Someone's asking when I'll be in Italy. So, okay, I'm hoping to maybe try and be there like in December, like I did last year, but I don't know because, like, yeah, it depends. But if not, I'm gonna for sure be in Italy of September 2025. I know that's long, but I'll definitely be in Europe that time, and I'll do like a tour. I'm gonna do the UK, I'm gonna do France and Italy as well.
How long do you usually stay in Italy for?
Sorry.
How long do you usually stay in Italy for? Just varies, different.
Between 5, 6 weeks or something like that. Yeah.
Hmm.
But
I always want to go there and just eat the food there.
from there, I fly like I go to Milano, which is my hometown, and then from there, like I'll fly. Like last year, I was in London, so I just fly around from there, and then I go to the mountains a little bit because I miss the snow.
For sure. How do you handle all this traveling? It seems pretty incredible that you're able to handle this. I can definitely sense by your team, like your team's very intense. I was like, I can barely handle it, but I noticed like even with you like doing all this traveling, I was like, I couldn't do
Yeah.
that.
So I mean, my team's about 300 beings that I travel with.
Yeah.
Team that works with me. I do a lot of gridding. And also, like, I've come to a knowing and understanding in a way where my system operates that it's not necessarily me. Like, I don't really use my own energy whenever I'm channeling or working for clients and things like that. Like, I do, but most of it, it's my guides mixed with their guides, mixed with the planet's guides, mixed with the Ascension councils, and a whole bunch of other beings together, sort of thing. Yeah, I do gridding a lot when I travel. I put on invisibility cloak just so that I'm not really like seen. So there's a few things that I do with the traveling. But yeah, I mean, I've always traveled, so it is like just a part of my life, I guess.
So
But it's
very very quick. So if you had to move somewhere, if you wanted to move somewhere, where would that be?
in one place.
Yeah, one you're like one place.
Yeah,
I can't just
yeah.
move in one place. But like one or
Well,
two places, where were like the top few
like
places?
the frequency of places is consistently changing, so I would have to go where I'm called to do grid work. So I don't think I can answer that.
Hmm.
But I like South Africa. Like I'm happy in South Africa, and I
Okay,
really like
cool.
as well. So LA would be somewhere where I would maybe do like a few
Mhm.
months there, a few months here. I wouldn't live in Manhattan. I was in New York now, and it's like that's way too dense. The grid is very dense there. I also wouldn't move back to Europe. The grid is quite dense that side as well. I
Yeah.
need like, you
Yeah, I
know.
noticed there's a lot of wars that have been there, and I noticed that when I went there, you can kind of tell. I kind of liked the south of France a lot better than like around Paris area. It was kind of more dense in that area. I noticed when I was like a kid when I went there. I thought that was cool. And like in the south of France, there was a lot of uh, Christ consciousness energy and stuff like that. Okay, last question and then so one person saying about starseed origin readings, like the practitioners, do you feel like readings are influenced by their own starseed origins, like when they're giving readings? Yeah, I would say so, maybe. But I think people just uh, every channeler, every person healer and stuff, it's coming through their own filter, whatever it is. But it just depending on how much ego they have or how experienced they are. I don't know.
Yeah,
Uh,
this is what people come to me for, like readings in that aspect. First of all, I just say to them, like, first you need to get a clearing done of your system, because if there's distortion in, like, there's no point, you know. And then I'll give them like bits of information, but then I generally refer them to different books. And through these books, the books will activate their memory and their DNA, and then they will know, oh, like this resonates, and then that piece of history resonates, and that galactic being resonates, and things like
mhm.
that. So it's always like, it's always really important. And I can see the ones who have a lot of attachment, and those ones I say, actually, no, like, I'm not doing this for you because there's too much attachment. Like, I want to know, am I this? Am I that? Like, you're attaching
Yeah.
something, and that's really not part of my teachings. I work on assisting people in releasing all and any attachments to identity that aren't serving them for the highest alignment. So I always ask them, is it important? Why do you want to know? Like,
Mhm.
that's
Yeah,
the first question that I ask
for
generally.
sure. Yeah. I think experiencing it yourself is always the best. But I think something can definitely help, open you up to things like that, open you up to a fractal part of yourself or integration part of yourself or an Arcturian part of yourself. But yeah, a lot of people are very attached to like, oh, I'm definitely this. I was like, I don't really see that, but that was kind of funny. So, what could the soul lesson for someone dealing with heartbreaks, uh, with back to back? Is that soul contract or is that an individual higher self made? Well, I'd say that's a soul contract. You're meant to go through 100 heartbreaks in this lifetime. No, I'm just kidding. But I don't know. I've never dealt with like a really strong heartbreak before. Is that you've probably dealt with one of
Just
those before, maybe?
it's just releasing attachment. It's an
Mm,
so if it's hard, it means that it's ego debts you need to go
mm,
through.
for sure. I noticed that, the more high vibrational people get and if you're with someone else that's very independent within their own vibration, and you have a really strong, intense chemistry and connection, the heartbreak can be a lot and can take you a while to get over it, but it's not as bad sometimes if it's more of a traumatic trauma bond or whatever people call it, or they're like super codependent on each other. But if
That's the problem, the codependency. People aren't happy with themselves and they get into unions, and then they're like, oh, now I'm happy again because I'm in a union and this person that is not me is things that are making me happy. And then once that's taken away from them, oh no, I don't know how to be happy by myself. So that's when the pain comes in. Remember, guys, like every heartbreak is cracking more open your heart center so you
mm,
can receive and you can be present more into unconditional love. So if that's what's needed to do at that moment in time, then I would say accept it gracefully and move on, and maybe raise your boundaries in partner choices.
yeah, I know the more that we do this work and do sessions for other people, the main thing that we probably see the most is people overthinking it too much. Like you said, it's like a lot of times it's like maybe it's just to open you up more or something. And I think uh, just making it simple in that way is one of the best ways. And yeah, what I was gonna say is like the contrast that you experience in this reality, the depths that you go through. A lot of these things are here to either toughen you up, or it's just either to kind of open you up more. If I didn't go through all this like suicidal depression ever since I was like 7 years old, like when I was younger, I probably wouldn't have had the emotional depth
Yeah,
that I do now. So.
exactly. Yeah. And it's very seldom that I see starseeds or people that are in our position and are holding this frequency that have not been through intense emotions and experiences and traumas and whatnot. Because I think when you teach and explain from a place of experience, there is more truth and depth to it than only from a place of theory. So it's part of our contracts as well.
Mm. Okay, so we have about 10 minutes left or so, 5 to 10 minutes. And I'm just going to go channel real quick and see what I get, see what energy comes in through first. And then I'll just shift quickly to what if you have anything coming through.
Yeah, I'll do some light language on you.
Okay, cool. I settle my energy down. Okay, Althea's team, you need to back off now. Just kidding. God, your team's just like blasting through the heart chakra. It's like insane. Uh, one of the things that your team, I hear them saying, is that it's very important to develop this connection with your heart chakra. It is something that many star seeds came to Earth to just learn, learn in this earthly experience, learn to navigate the emotions in this human vessel, because the way that they experienced emotions and navigated emotions in these different bodies and things like that, it was totally different than the way that we do things here on Earth. And also experiencing the density of some of the emotions that we experience and being in these emotions for prolonged